And we're on.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of 406 Budcast. We're extremely excited to introduce Garrett Rudolph over here, the marijuana venture editor-in-chief. We will get a little bit more into the details of that right after this quick intro.
Roll it up, line it up, listen up now. It's the 406 Budcast, gonna show you how cannabis culture, grow big strong. Hear the latest trends, you can't go wrong. Tune in today, knowledge on blast. #1 podcast, it's the 406 Budcast. From strength to gains, they break it all down. Passion and hustle, wear the green crown. Industry insights right in your ears. Growing green dreams, no need for fears. Tune in today, knowledge on blast. #1 podcast, it's the 406 Budcast. Cannabis culture, grow big strong. Hear the latest trends, you can't go wrong. Tune in today, knowledge on blast. #1 podcast, it's the 406 Budcast. From strains to gains, we break it all down. Passion and hustle, wear the green crown. Industry insights right in your ears. Growing green dreams, no need for fears. Tune in today, knowledge on blast. #1 podcast, it's the 406 Budcast.
Hey, welcome back everybody to the 406 Budcast once again. I'm extremely excited to welcome Garrett Rudolph from Marijuana Venture to our show. Hello, Garrett. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Real quick, I'll go around the table tonight. Of course, we have our guests, or our regular hosts, Hannah, myself, Daniel. Across the table, we've got Nate and Tanaki. And behind the desk, producing, as always, we have Michelle. Thank you so much. Let's get right into it. Welcome back. In this episode, we're sitting down with Garrett, a powerhouse in cannabis journalism from Marijuana Venture, the go-to source for business insights, industry trends, and insider knowledge. We'll dive into the evolution of cannabis media, the biggest challenges and opportunities facing the industry now, in your opinion, and how Marijuana Venture is shaping the conversation. Let's dive right into it. So, for starters, from our research, we found some of your first articles from 2014, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, 2014. I think we actually put out our first issue. I want to say it was like March 12 of 2014. So we're coming up pretty close on 11 full years now.
Wow.
Congratulations. That's
awesome. That's a long time in the marijuana industry.
I mean, it's a long time in cannabis, and it's a long time in print media, to be honest. Anybody who's sort of watched what's going on in print media, whether it's local newspapers, whether it's magazines on a local or national scale, whether it's even larger newspapers. I mean, print media is sort of a struggle. So yeah, 11 years is kind of a long time in cannabis. It's a long time in print media, and we're still around.
Especially in our electronic day and age, right?
Especially in this electronic day and age.
Speaking of electronic, I believe that this entire magazine started out as a newsletter. Is that right?
Well, no, it really started out as a print product.
Okay.
But what we called a magazine in those very early days was certainly not what anybody would picture as a magazine. Our very first issue was a black and white 8-page newsletter that was stapled together, basically printed on computer paper, for lack of a better way of putting it. I can kind of remember when that very first issue came out, and Washington was just in the process of issuing its first adult use licenses. I remember going to a little trade show back in those days and handing out this 8-page black and white newsletter and basically telling people like, I'm Garrett Rudolph from Marijuana Venture. We're in the process of starting this magazine, and, I'm handing out this little black and white thing that honestly looks like somebody printed it on their home computer. And, kind of some of the reactions at that point was like, oh yeah, this is a magazine, almost a bit of kind of sarcasm or a little bit of disbelief that, that we would call this a magazine. But it grew really quickly, and within 3 or 4 months, had grown to the size of being, what you would consider an actual real magazine. And I want to say it was within the first 10 months, we had hit 100 pages as a magazine, and, kind of never really looked back since then.
Nice. Congratulations.
That's
So
awesome.
the true entrepreneurial spirit, right there, going from literally, like you said, printed on computer paper to a 100-page magazine in 10 months. That's
I don't mean to interrupt, but at the time we really didn't know, we were really the first monthly business magazine at that time. And we really just didn't know what the response would be, kind of from an advertiser perspective, from a reader perspective. Was this going to be something that people found valuable? Would advertisers want to be reaching this crowd of, cannabis business entrepreneurs? And, and we discovered really quickly that both from a reader perspective and from an advertiser perspective, that there was definitely a need and an interest there. And so that was kind of what led to the kind of quick growth in those early days.
nice. So what led you to the cannabis space specifically? I mean, there's a lot of different ground you could have covered. Why cannabis?
Yeah, I mean, actually, it wasn't really my thought or intention at all, to be completely honest. At the time, back in early 2014, I was working for a small newspaper over in Eastern Washington. I was tired of it. I couldn't really stand it for a lot of different reasons that we won't go into.
Sure.
So I left that newspaper, and my current publisher, Greg James, he owned a vacation property over in the Eastern Washington city where I was running that newspaper. And so, when I left the newspaper, the last piece I wrote was kind of, farewell. It's been fun, but I'm moving on. Right about that same time that I had written that, he had been kind of looking at opportunities in this sort of new legal adult use cannabis space, and, kind of playing around with the idea of a couple different business ventures, and had kind of gotten on the point of thinking that a business magazine would be a really smart thing to launch at that time. He saw that I was leaving the newspaper, sent me an email, and basically said, "Hey, I've got an idea. Are you interested in having lunch and talking about this?" And at the time I had, literally no idea what he was even referring to. So we sat down, we had lunch, and he said, I'm thinking about starting a cannabis business magazine for this, legal marijuana space. At the time it was like, well, that's kind of interesting. That's exciting. It's obviously going to be a new and growing industry. It's very different from the city council meetings and the day-to-day news that I've been working on previously. So we did it. We sat down. It was February of 2014. We started putting things together and moved pretty fast. And like I said, within less than a month, had the first issue on the press, and have published for the first basically 10 years, published a monthly magazine for every month. And then last year, 2024, we switched to publishing quarterly. So all told, about 123 issues that we've sent to press now in 11 years. And then at some point during that stretch, we actually launched 2 different sister publications that we ended up discontinuing after a little while, because they just didn't sort of have the traction that Marijuana Venture did.
Sure. And if you wanted to find any of those issues electronically, you can find those on marijuanaventure.com. Is that right? Or is that for just ordering physical copies?
No, you can find the digital copies. In fact, I think at this point, other than our own personal archives, there pretty much are no printed issues left. It's just the digital back issues and then the current printed issues.
Sure.
Ooh.
So that's quite an evolution, going from print to digital. Has there been some growing pains there that you've had to work through? And what has that been like for your organization?
Well, we continue to publish in print. It's just that our we don't have a stockpile of back issues anymore.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, we've always printed both in print and digital, but we've focused more of our energy in print.
Sure. Okay.
So for any of those guests out there who have a collection of the Marijuana Venture magazines, you might have something special on your hands. Send us a picture of your oldest issue. I think that would be really interesting to see if we could find a physical copy that's quite old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun. Let's see if we can find it
And see exactly where it comes from as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if you find, I mean, probably the first year we really only shipped to Washington and Colorado.
Okay.
And those first couple issues, I mean, if you see one in black and white, 100% of those were distributed in Washington.
Okay.
So that would be kind of the telltale sign there. But every once in a while, I do run into people who say, I've kept every issue, and and I still have that first issue. So I know that there's a couple of them out there somewhere.
That's awesome stuff.
That's crazy.
That's super cool.
It's legendary, honestly. That's very cool.
So, how has the cannabis space, sort of evolved for you guys over there in Washington, and what have you seen nationally in your 11 years?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think that we've seen Washington really be a microcosm of the national industry in a lot of ways. Obviously, we went through a lot of the same thing that a lot of people did nationally, sort of that initial stage of people sort of thinking that they were going to be overnight millionaires. And,
right.
Maybe that lasted a year or two at the most. And I think that fairly quickly, people kind of recognized that this was ultimately going to be a lot like any other business, that it was really going to take a lot of hard work. It was going to take, really kind of a dedication to the craft and to the business, and, paying attention to your margins and paying attention to efficiency. It was going to take, hiring the right people, making sure you had training programs to bring on new people. I think a lot of people kind of in those early days jumped into it with sort of a do everything approach to things, and
Sure.
realized that, that's not really a great way to run a company. And you kind of need to be able to delegate and to, differentiate the roles within that company. But I think we saw that, sort of that green rush stage, if you will, sort of last for a year or two. But I think that we've seen that kind of be a microcosm to other states that have come online. And in a lot of ways, one of the things that I've noticed is just with sort of that new industry, with sort of that green rush mentality, for lack of a better way of putting it, I think a lot of states haven't really paid enough attention to what has gone on in states like Washington and Colorado.
Sure.
Where, if you paid close attention to Washington, you would have known that this wasn't an easy path to riches, and it was going to be a highly competitive business. And so when you see what kind of goes on in, just to use a state like Oklahoma, for example, where thousands and thousands of business licenses were granted, I think if people were maybe paying a little bit more attention to, a state like Washington and seeing what kind of the rate of business failures and the low margins that we were seeing in Washington, maybe not quite as many people would have kind of rushed into things. And if they did, at least they would have kind of come in with their eyes wide open as to, the reality of the business.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment. And Montana, we're trying to find that balance between that and having still a bit of a free market. Right now, we have a couple of bills working through the Senate that have passed, gone on to the House now, looking for ratification there. That would pretty much limit the license as they are, provide the moratorium all the way till 2027. And I think that draws a lot from Washington, Colorado, and other markets that, you speak of that got flooded out pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that we've seen, I believe, in Oregon, if I remember correctly. Obviously, Oregon issued a ton of licenses, and according to kind of the original state statutes, we're going to continue issuing licenses, and various business groups kind of lobbied for them to stop issuing licenses, because at least if you stop it once the point you've kind of hit that saturation point, at least those licenses still have some value, and do that before it kind of wrecks the entire industry.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I mean, I think there's a good balance point that we need to get to, where that is exactly, to where it doesn't stifle new business, but at the same time, protects a bit of the market share. I think we're going to see our way through that here. And with national legalization sort of on the horizon, I think there's going to be a lot of change that comes with that as well.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Real quick pit stop. I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for stopping by to join us this evening. It looks like a bunch of you have already dropped those likes and hearts. We appreciate that. Quick shout outs. We got Nobody. We got Dalton. It's always nice to see you, fellow cannabis business person. Mike, see you up there. Mr. Burns, as always, we appreciate your presence. And I'm sure that there are more lurkers out there too. So
on the other platforms as well. That's just the ones we can see right there. So
yep, that's just who is commenting so far. So if you want to hear one of us say your name, all you have to do is comment. It's that easy. Oh, before we get too far, we do have a wonderful video that we prepared for you, Garrett. So we will run that on your end. That gives you about 3 minutes to relax. So drink some water, chill, and we will be right back.
Turn the page, flip the script, we on a mission. Marijuana venture, got the world paying attention. Started from the ground, now we running the game. Every issue breaking limits, putting brands in the frame. From the growers to the hustlers, dispensaries too. If you're talking cannabis, we got the facts for you. Real talk, no gimmick, straight biz, no cap. From the farms to the shells, put the movement on the map. Big dreams, big screens, every issue make waves. It's the venture, not a mag, it's the future they crave. Flip through the pages, knowledge in sight. Every edition, we changing the vibe. Industry leaders, they know where to go. Marijuana venture, the magazine glow. Venture on, read all about it. Game changers, no doubt about it. From the west to the east, worldwide we roll. Venture magazine, yeah, we in control. Make it venture on. Business tips, market flips, we ahead of the curve. If you're trying to stay winning, every page got the word. Regulations, new innovations, the science, the trends. If it's cannabis success, we reporting the wins. Cover stories go deep, no fluff, just facts. From the legends to the rookies, all the players relax. It's the blueprint, the guide, every boss stay tuned. Marijuana venture got the industry booming. Pages, knowledge in sight. Every edition, we changing the vibe. Industry leaders, they know where to go. Marijuana venture, the magazine glow. Venture on, read all about it. Game changers, no doubt about it. From the west to the east, worldwide we roll. Venture magazine, yeah, we in control. Got one voice, one vision, one mission. Marijuana venture, no competition. Venture on, read all about it. Game changers, no doubt about it. From the west to the east, worldwide we roll. Venture magazine, yeah, we in control. More than a mag, it's the playbook to win. Venture keeps the hustle running, let's get it in.
Alrighty, and welcome back, folks. So here in Montana, we have some issues with advertisements. Did you guys face any issues when you first started putting out or anything like that? Do you have any advertisement issues in your state?
You know, we do have somewhat similar regulations to a lot of states. I would say probably a little bit less strict than maybe your average adult use state right now. But by and large, Washington has some restrictions, but it's not so strict that it can't be done. And for us, we were sort of fortunate being more of a B2B magazine. The majority of our advertisers aren't cannabis companies themselves. We do have, some cannabis companies that advertise from time to time. But by and large, a lot of our advertisers are, say, law firms or lighting manufacturers or greenhouse companies. So I think in a lot of ways we were kind of fortunate to not have to dive into kind of the legality of some of those regulations of advertising and what could or could not be advertised.
Okay.
Very nice. So you had talked about the B2B aspect, and is that something that you guys are also starting to explore on a little bit more, trying to put on some business to business get-togethers and stuff throughout the states, or just exploring through the magazine?
Yeah, so we actually started our first B2B cannabis event back in 2016, I believe it was. It's an event we call Interchange. We're still running it to this day. I think the first year we did one event. I think the next couple years we did 2 events. And then following COVID, we ramped up and now we're doing 4 events a year in Washington. And then we're also exploring new markets, whether that might be Montana, Massachusetts, Michigan, New York. There's 4 or 5 markets that we're kind of debating on and kind of researching to determine kind of what our next step is going to be. But we've been doing those since 2016, and they've been very, very popular, very successful in Washington. And it basically is just kind of it's sort of the meeting place for the industry. We bring in the top growers, we bring in the top retailers, we bring in some ancillary companies such as a credit union, for example, that provides services to the cannabis industry. We have an ATM machine company that comes in and provides ATMs for the retailers, stuff like that. So it's, it really is kind of a meeting place for the industry in Washington, and the leaders of Washington. About every 3 months or so, we're getting ready for our next one. In about 3 weeks here, we'll be in Seattle.
Okay.
Awesome. So where at in Seattle is that going to be, just in case anybody out there who's listening or catches the show later? Yeah,
it'll be in the Soto area. If you check out the website interchangemv.com, that has kind of all the details for that.
Perfect. Awesome.
Well, well, real quick before we move on to anything else, I actually had one quick question for you, Garrett.
Sure.
Do you remember specifically any issue, issue of the magazine specifically that went out that you recall really being that catalyzing moment, something where you really knew that you guys had something, you know what I mean? When it blew up and you were like, holy cow, or was it kind of a long, slow grind? How was the experience?
To be honest, it really happened really quickly. I think from my perspective, so not to get into, kind of the nitty gritty details of this, but, we published this magazine and we mailed this magazine out to what at the time ended up being about 3,600 applicants in Washington for Washington's adult use licenses. And these magazines, newsletters, for, a better way of putting it, basically arrived in people's mailboxes without them knowing that it was going to show up, and that was both kind of a positive and a negative simultaneously. Like on one hand, you know, some people were like, what are you doing mailing me a marijuana magazine? You know, like I've got kids, you know,
Right.
No man's going to see this, you know, but most of the people actually reached out and they were like, wow, this is really cool. Because at the time, you know, it was just a little newsletter, but everything in it was focused on Washington's cannabis industry. And we were talking about things like regulations, and we were talking about things like, you know, pretty obscure rules that, you know, that in a lot of ways, we were the only people who were covering this at the time. I remember there was a debate over what type of cameras were actually required by the regulations. And it was really like such a what seems like a minute detail of like what specific cameras you need. But at the same time, it was causing a lot of confusion within people that were applying for these licenses, and it was a requirement for you to have the right cameras in order to get your final license and to be able to operate. So we were publishing stories on these cameras that you needed, and it really became evident, you know, right almost from the get-go. We were getting phone calls and emails from people saying, hey, this is really great. Like, I'm really glad that somebody is out there publishing this type of information, because this is what we need as business owners. And, you know, at the time there was obviously High Times, everybody's familiar with. There was Dope, there was Northwest Leaf, there was Culture. But all of those were focusing on lifestyle issues and that kind of thing. And at the time, really, there was nobody who was kind of getting into the nitty gritty of the business side and the regulations the way we were. So, yeah, it really happened, you know, kind of surprisingly fast in terms of that kind of realization that, you know, that there was a need and that this was something that was valued by our readers.
That's awesome. I'm sure that must have been an amazing feeling, that initial 10 months.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, we kind of set it up, you know, my publisher and I talked about it. It was kind of like, we honestly had no idea what the reaction was going to be like. And so we kind of set it up like, hey, you know, let's try this for 6 months and see what happens. And, you know, I think we were 3 or 4 months in, and it was like, okay, we can sort of put that 6-month notion to bed. And this is just, you know, this is just what we do now.
That's awesome. That really sounds like an amazing time, and what a fantastic story.
Got to give a quick shout out to Wayman, and we got Homegrow 4201.
Growing Mo Flower.
Growing Mo Flower.
I don't
Tuning
think
in for
that
the first
person's
time?
related to the Mo that we know.
I don't believe so, but you know,
Where are you listening in from, guys? Where are you guys at tonight?
Yeah, where are you guys out there? We appreciate all of you guys. We know that we get at this point quite a national audience and an international audience, so we appreciate everyone listening, whether that be on Spotify, iTunes. I know that you can find us on YouTube. You know, of course, we're streaming
Twitch.
right now on Twitch, Facebook,
YouTube.
I believe that we have an X account or two at this point that is going. So you can catch us on all of these platforms, and of course, as we continue to grow, we should expand.
And we're very happy to have people like Garrett from Washington join us, bringing their knowledge from, you know, out of the state of Montana. Although we are a Montana-based organization, we have a lot of guests joining us from all over the United States and internationally here soon as well. So,
Heck yeah, Homegrow 4201 is out of Bronx, New York.
Right.
hey, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what it's like to homegrow in New York. What's the legislation like over there? What are the rules?
Most certainly.
That'd
What
be
the
interesting.
dispensaries like right now?
Yeah.
Reach
So
out
many
to us
questions.
and let's talk. I think we should have an episode where we just bring in some of our, you know, our audience
That sounds
members
fun.
and just have a good robin kind of a conversation with everybody around the country.
Yeah, just a chill
Oklahoma.
chat sesh. Yeah,
Well,
Oklahoma.
with that in mind, fantastic segue into strain of the week. One of my best segues yet. All right. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, our strain of the week this week, you guys voted for it. It is Chocolate, and I got to tell you, I am excited.
We have had this video since the day we put that out. You guys voted immediately, and it won immediately.
Yes, you guys crushed the vote this
Yeah.
time. So we will check you back in another 3.5 minutes. Smoke.
Woke up late, feeling great, time to start my day. Grabbed my stash, took a hit, now my plans float away. Had a list of things to do, I was about to be productive. But now I'm watching YouTube videos on why are ducks so aggressive? Check the fridge, what's the move, bro? I just bought groceries. Ain't no food, ain't no snacks. Who the hell ate all my cheese? Went outside to get some air, now I'm staring at the sky. Then my neighbor walked right past. Wait, I forgot to say hi. Oh, Chocolate got me flying through the ether. I just put my keys down. Now they chilling in the freezer. Energized, but I'm lost. Thought I had my life controlled. Then I blinked and 3 hours disappeared. Where'd they go? Chocolate, paper and chill. Let my brain take a trip. Take a shot, pay my bills, but I Venmo'd some shit. Wait, what? Lost my train of thought. Now I'm vibing with my cat. Cook a bite of my sandwich. Where the hell is my bright eye? Made some coffee, took a sip, but forgot to add the beans. Tried to call my homie back, but I forgot what he means. Who did? Sat down, rolled up, then I stood up feeling clever. Then I realized, bro, I've been standing here forever. Tried to take a selfie, but my camera wasn't on. Took another hit and got concerned about my lawn. Started cleaning up my house, but forgot what I was doing. Now I'm standing in my kitchen with a broom and no movement. Oh, my brain's playing games, but I'm cool with it. Trying to text back, but I wrote a grocery list. I was about to make a point, but it faded real quick.
Wait, hold up. Bro, what we talking about again?
Chocolate, bacon, chill, let my brain take a trip. Thought I turned my stove off, now my house smelling crisp. Oh no, why my cat looking at me like he plotting my doom? Took another hit, now I'm vibing on the moon. One puff, two puff, now I'm one with the couch. Miss my plans, miss my calls, but I ain't stressed out. No, got my chocolate dreams, just let me float. Wait, what day is it? Man, I gotta take some notes. Damn. Chocolate, bacon, chill, let my brain take a trip. Try to pay my bills, but I Venmo'd some chick. Wait, what? Lost my train of thought, now I'm vibing with my cat. He cooked a bite of my sandwich. Where the hell is my What the hell is my brain at? One puff, two puff, now I'm one with the couch. Miss my plans, miss my calls, but I ain't stressed out. Nope, got my chocolate dreams, just let me float. Wait, what day is it? Man, I gotta take some notes. Damn.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah.
Nice music break. It's always refreshing.
Chocolope for you guys. Chocolope is a sativa dominant cannabis strain renowned for its flavor profile and uplifting effects. So appearance is very dense, elongated buds with vibrant green hues and
What'd you
orange
call me?
pistils.
Huh?
Elongated buds.
Anyway.
Buns. Don't worry about it. Let's see. Sweet, earthy scent with a pronounced chocolate and coffee undertones. I would hope it's got some chocolate in there.
It's seriously, I hate to just interrupt, but it's one of my favorite flavor profiles of weed is that chocolate, like coffee, just like earthy, vanilla, yum. And I don't see it anymore. It's sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that good chocolate flavor is something that really needs to come back.
I'd love to see it come
Got
back.
a lot of limonene
We're bringing it
and
back.
pinene and
Caryophyllene.
caryophyllene. Yeah. Yeah.
I know, Garrett, you we were talked a little bit before the show. You mentioned that you don't really smoke anymore. You have more in your area. There's more availability of a lot of cool things like drinks,
Low dose and stuff.
edibles, and stuff like that. If you do the drinks that you have available, go both ways, sativa, indica, kind of like that, or are they just pretty hybrid these days?
Yeah, it's pretty much just a percentage THC. I don't think it's I don't think it's quite to the point where it's strain specific or anything like that.
No full spectrum extracts in drink form yet, at least. Maybe not there. I think that we've have we had a guest on that had a rosin infused drink or something like that?
We have, and then there's a nano powder that's going around that comes in pouches that you can just dump into any drink and it will infuse it. I know that that's going around Montana right now, and it's going around a few other states. So pretty interesting to see how that goes.
I gotta say, my favorite edible consumption is butter in my coffee.
Oh yes.
That's been hitting amazing. Highly recommend.
Can of butter in the coffee.
Yep.
Ooh, that is so super good. Just as a quick check-in, I know we asked a few minutes ago where everyone is from at. We've got a couple of guests here. We've got one from New York. We already asked him how his grow is going. He's filled us in the chat there. If you haven't seen that, check it out. We have another one here from Oklahoma. Mike, of course. Thank you so much. And Kayla, it's nice to see you again. I know that you're from the local area. And then anybody else? No one answered. I know that Dalton.
Dalton's from the area.
Dalton, if you're actually in the cannabis business and you're looking for a good insurance agency, get a hold of Dalton. He can get you covered out there on a lot of things that most people won't touch just because there's the cannabis stigma. He's been able to find some products out there that fit the bill.
Asherman Agency. Right? Yeah.
Oh,
My brain worked today.
This song we made for that is still stuck in my head.
Right.
Oh man, that's a classic.
Why are ducks so aggressive?
Why?
For the Asherman Agency. I mean.
Wait, what?
Anyway.
Why are you Venmoing a chick?
It was a good little song.
It was. Well, real quick to wrap up the Chocolate strain, typical psychoactive effects. It's going to be one of your sativas, like we were just talking about with Garrett. Typically, that's going to be your more energizing strain. It is looks like it's a flowering period of approximately 9 to 10 weeks. So its harvest is going to be ready by mid to late October, depending on, of course, when you can jump into veg or plant those veg plants anyway. Plus, questions like this have always bothered me. Timelines like this are great, but what's stopping me from pre-vegging a plant in a tent for 2 months before it's appropriate to put it outside?
Yeah.
Transfer it outside and just grow an absolute behemoth.
And I think a lot of people do that, and more power to them if they can get away with it. But yeah, I just said that, do that.
You got both the girls over here giggling.
Doo-doo is always funny.
We got 2 little kids in the house. It really reverts you back.
According to allbuds.com on that, there's medical applications that they say it does. Of course, we're not medical experts, but may alleviate symptoms of depression, stress, fatigue, and nausea. So for any of those people who are looking at those kind of symptoms, maybe cure for you is a little bit of chocolate.
Must be like sativa.
I'm not sure. I know we have a ton of people who come in specifically just looking for nausea relief, sleep aid. Those are the two most common, I would say, that people are looking for.
I was going to say those nausea strains are nice to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did look into the breeder a little bit ahead of time, DNA Genetics. They are quite well established. It seems they've been in the industry for over 10 years. They're the ones who developed the Chocolate strain, supposedly, and according to this, of course. And in addition to that, they have a more recent strain called Purple Chocolate, and then they have several other what I would consider to be white glove strains. I don't believe that they are the original breeders of them, but one of them being White Widow, of course, and a lot of other of those classical strains that everyone is kind of trying to replicate as best as they can these days, because well, of that genetic drift and genetic wash that we always refer to.
Definitely. You know, I'm wondering, with it being mid to late October for an outdoor grow, would this be a good Montana kind of plant to grow outdoors, or would it be something that may run the risk of getting that frost and getting taken over?
In Montana, you never know. It could,
Yeah.
it could frost.
Anymore, the last couple of years, it seems our seasons have shifted. So I maybe in the clear, but
We've had
it's
snow in
always a
July.
toss. So
Straight up.
yeah,
We've had snow in the middle of summer.
yeah.
Yeah, you could never predict the weather in Montana.
No.
No.
It
And
was
wait
like-
5 minutes, it'll change.
It was 60. I was going to say it was 60 the next day. So
Yeah. It's been.
I wonder how people dealt with. I'm sure the plants are more resilient than people give them credit for. They
Yeah.
probably took that quick snow and like it was nothing.
Well, and I think
Sure.
that's where the autoflowers really come in, right? I mean, because there's just a certain amount of time you can pop those seeds. I mean, run them through their veg cycle. They hit their autoflower and they're done within, you know, a certain amount of time. So you can't even
Right.
really get into that hard fall season anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. There's a lot of nuance to growing outdoors. It's something that I haven't really practiced or experimented with. I feel like the way the Montana legislative rules work, it's kind of hard to grow outdoors. You're allowed to, but it can't be visible from any public space without binoculars or some, like, it's very specific and kind of stupid. I mean, it's understandable rule. It is what it is. But it's very disabling right now. It's
I
very
agree.
hard to grow outside for a
Yeah.
home grower.
Get a whole bunch of sunflowers.
Well, once again, I'm going to use this fantastic transition ability to jump into stoner trivia. Tanaki,
yeah.
while you get your questions pulled up, and Garrett, this is the fun part. We'll get you involved here as much as we possibly can.
Absolutely.
We're going to head into that stoner trivia intro.
Smoking like a rasta, feeling so high. We talk about cannabis and getting fly. Are you smarter than a stoner? Let's find out. Listen up,
B, the
my
plant's
friends.
flavor
I
and
got
aroma
something to
compounds.
shout.
C,
Cannabis
the plant's
knowledge,
fibers.
let it flow through your mind. Getting blazed, smoking loud, we all unwind. Trivia questions, can you keep up the pace? Let's see if you're sharper in this smoky haze.
Alrighty, and welcome back, folks. And we're going to jump into some Are You Smarter Than a Stoner trivia.
Michelle, get in here.
Stuck it so hard, the Russian judges gave her a 10.
Wow.
Yeah, she warned us about these questions ahead of time, folks. So get
Yeah,
your
so
get your
they're-
thinking caps on.
They're a little wordy.
I don't have any sticky notes.
Uh-oh. Oh,
That's
Garrett,
okay.
so normally what we do here, and for any of our new guests on the show this evening, we normally have sticky notes with the labels A, B, C, D. If you don't have anything, that's fine. We will ask you what your answer is as we go around.
They've kind of lost their sticky, but we try to slap them to our forehead.
Yeah, we do our best to get those answers. We have learned that the chat does like to cheat, so don't give away the answer too early. They will just copy whatever you say. So
I also
Alrighty.
copy the chat, so
Mhm.
yeah.
it works out.
All right, ready?
Question number 1. Which cannabinoid has been shown to have a higher binding affinity for CB2 receptors, making it more associated with anti-inflammatory effects? A, THC, B, CBD, C, CBG, or D, CBN?
When in doubt.
Yeah, I know Tanaki's default, so I'm just gonna go with that.
Mhm.
And she's mad because I think
She is mad. Did we guess this one right?
I'm going with boy, baby.
Okay.
Oh, it's not. Oh, no, it didn't.
Homegirl 4201 says A.
We got A out there.
And that's the one from New York.
We got
Kayla.
Kayla out there.
No
Hello,
idea.
Kayla.
No
tonight.
idea. I know, right? Oh,
Okay. What do you think, Hannah?
B.
B.
All right. What do you got, Garrett?
I'm going B.
Awesome. Daniel?
I think B.
B.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely going B as well. Watch it be like B.
It is C.
Oh, damn.
Dang. Okay. Interesting.
CBG.
So
Yeah,
CBG.
all right.
Okay.
I know CBD
Cool.
is known for its anti-inflammatory too, but I don't know enough about the alternate cannabinoids. I'm sure there's a lot there that we will continue to uncover as time moves forward.
Yeah, there was one that was really conducive for like helping brain growth and
CBC.
Neurogenesis.
Yeah.
CBG.
I think there's
G.
several.
yeah.
There is several, but I know CBC we were specifically looking at.
And I'm sure that the
We thought it
reality
was
is they
fake.
need to work in concert, right?
I think there definitely the entourage effect
Mhm.
it needs to happen on some of them, just because they may be too weak to get to certain areas, and so
Mhm.
they need a bigger binder to pull them.
That's very exciting. That's very exciting. I can't wait to read on the neurochemistry of cannabinoids as we move forward in time.
I hope we get research.
And
Oh, we
this
will.
is how we nerd out.
Number 2. What is the primary way that the terpene limonene influences mood and cognitive function?
Hmm.
A. By increasing serotonin and dopamine levels throughout interactions with brain receptors. B. By directing binding to CB1 receptors and amplifying THC's effects. C. By blocking the reuptake of
Norepinephrine.
norepinephrine, leading to increased focus. Thanks, guys. Or D. By reducing cortisol levels, promoting relaxation and stress relief.
See, we warned you guys about these questions tonight.
Yeah.
I regret choosing what I chose.
Man,
Yeah. So it just, blame Hannah this week for
Sorry,
the questions
guys.
being so difficult.
We haven't gone
Listen,
over
I had
terpenes
to
and stuff
get,
for a
but I
while.
had to make them more difficult because it tried giving me ones we've already done before. Like
Um,
those are my first roll of questions.
I think
It's like, oh, gotta make
terpenes
it
are not
difficult.
necessarily restricted entirely to cannabis, right? So,
Exactly.
Well, I did
Yeah.
cannabinoids and terpenes.
okay. Well, I'm
Well,
not. I don't mind.
and limonene isn't just specific to cannabis either.
Yeah, so you're gonna find it,
Yeah.
and that thing. So isn't that the one that's also like in the parsley and stuff like that?
Yeah, there's several places.
So it
Interesting.
actually helps with like the dog's breath, and that's why we're like looking at the dog's kept steering.
One of the recommendations
For
was to feed your dogs like parsley or basil and stuff like that. It helps with their breath because of some of the myrcene and limonene that's in there naturally, and so makes sense. Dogs are chomping on the cannabis leaves.
Yeah, they do love those cannabis leaves.
So do
Nice
cats.
snack.
All right, so what do we got out there in the chat?
Looks like Kayla
With
is
a
saying D. I think that's a pretty safe guess. That's what my guess is. I know that we've got a couple more people out there. They don't want to guess. They're not putting their neck on the line tonight.
Like, not doing it,
They're
dude.
way too hard.
D was also my guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
PhD and PhD over here, like what?
Yeah, for real. Garrett, what
Yeah.
do you think? What are you feeling tonight?
Got D.
D as
D,
well.
awesome.
Yeah. I think limonene is used as a cleaner too, isn't it? It just flashed into my brain. I believe.
I believe you're right.
I don't know.
Pine Sol.
That's I was feeling. You're thinking Pine Sol too.
No, I think just limonene is used as a cleaner in some cases, but I don't know. I'll have to. I will do my homework and I will get back to you guys.
You talking like a lab cleaner or something like that?
Yeah, like in a lab setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The correct answer to number 2 is A.
Oh man. 0 for 2, like smoking it.
What was the correct answer?
A.
A. Serotonin, dopamine.
Interesting. So eat those lemons, people. Makes you feel good.
Not smarter than a stoner.
Man, I am not at all. I'm just a
Question.
basic stoner.
Number
Uh-oh.
3.
Number 3.
Which cannabinoid is most associated with promoting sleep?
Mm,
A. CBC. B. CBG. C. CBN. Or D. Delta 8 THC.
hmm.
Well, quick check-in while everyone's thinking on that. Limonene is sort of a cleaner, although it can be a little intense. So probably not for regular home use. It's more of like, as you said, a lab setting When you want something so clean that it's cleaner than brand new, then this is the kind of stuff you use. So, but it says it effectively removes grease, grime, adhesives, and stains. So it's that adhesives specifically it's good at removing. Interesting.
So all those stickers that you got, stuff like that.
Goo gone.
Man, Goo Gone,
I
definitely.
wonder.
Hmm.
I'd be curious.
I've also spotted a couple of terpenes in my shampoo before, and not just in the hemp shampoo, just in some random bottle of Olay. I was reading the back like, oh shit, whatever it was. Yeah, exactly. I can't remember specifically which one.
I do remember teaching my mom that there are terpenes in her hemp shampoo.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get high for washing my hair.
That's what they mean by calmer heads prevailing.
Yeah, yeah, true.
It is a better shampoo. I loved it.
All
My
right,
guess
Snooki.
is C.
So what do you got? What do we got?
So we have a C in the chat. What do we say right now?
I got C here.
C, 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 C.
C. Garrett, what do you got?
I think he said C as well.
C.
That
What's
is going
up,
to be the
Adam?
correct answer.
Whoop, whoop.
Come on.
We didn't get skunked.
Holy smokes, we got one right. Dang,
Finally.
Tanaki, thank you for doing
Hey,
it.
happy Friday, Adam.
Yes, of course.
Thanks for joining us.
She does a nice one right before the real burner. So
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
one shouldn't.
look at that.
It's
She
like
can
the
barely
hot
fit it
sauce.
on one screen.
This is like the hot sauce before your next.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
All right, number 4. How do terpenes influence the entourage effect in cannabis pharmacology? A. Terpenes directly activate cannabinoid receptors, making cannabinoids more potent. B. Terpenes modulate the effect of cannabis by interacting with neurotransmitters and receptor pathways. C. Terpenes inhibit THC metabolism, making its effects longer lasting. Or D. Terpenes reduce the absorption of cannabinoids, lowering their effect.
Wouldn't that be a throw out of left field?
Right.
I'm going to go with, yeah, I don't have it.
I'm going with B.
When in doubt.
What do you think,
Go with
Garrett?
longer.
Do you have an instant reaction here?
No idea, but I'm going to go with A.
Okay.
I'm pretty torn between A and B, but I'm sticking with B.
I'm going with B.
I'm going to guess B as well, based on our answer from earlier, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, I'm definitely going with A.
Anybody in
Damn
chat?
it. I feel like it's a combination. I
popping
feel
in
like
with the
one is
B.
just a longer explanation.
Mhm.
I don't know.
B is going to be the correct answer.
Boom! Way to go.
Heck yeah, guys.
Dude, those are some awesome questions.
tough ones.
I'll tell you, by the time you get done going through all the episodes and all these questions, you could probably go apply at most colleges for a PhD in cannabis knowledge and science.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tanaki's been throwing some heavy ones.
Some deep thought ones in there.
Yeah. Big
Absolutely.
words.
Big words.
Big words.
I
No.
just stumble over them.
Yeah.
You're doing awesome.
I think it's obvious from our answers, but it goes without saying this is obviously for education, or excuse me, not for Wait, which
Wait.
one is it?
It's for
We're for
educational purposes
educational
only.
purposes only, babe.
We're
We're
not
not
for
gonna-
education, not for
Not for
sale,
trade, not for sale.
you know, whatever.
No.
We're not
Just for
selling
fun.
ourselves.
We're just for fun. Whatever.
Oh my
You guys know the disclaimers.
Yeah.
We're
We're
not selling
here.
any of this.
No.
We're doing it for free.
We're here for good time, not a long time. All right, guys.
We're doing it.
We are.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's a great time.
It's
It
a
is.
wonderful.
We get to interact with great guests like Garrett out there and all of our wonderful viewers that come in. And we've gotten just a plethora of people that we've had over the last,
This is
43, 44?
This is
This is
43
43 episodes.
Mhm.
Man, that is a lot of
every
ground.
I
Friday.
thought we just celebrated episode 30.
It
happens
feels
like
like
that.
it, right? It's been crazy.
I'm sure
Damn.
Garrett can relate with his, they're not
publishing.
called seasons. What are they called? For your
Volumes,
magazine?
I believe.
Volumes, yes,
Yeah.
with your volumes. I mean, how many volumes do you guys have at this point? 11, 12, 13?
Yeah, I mean we're close to 11 years, so I think we technically call this volume 12.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Damn.
And
That
so
is
do you guys
crazy.
also do a little bit of podcasting and stuff as well? Or is it just strictly the print and digital?
Yeah, it's strictly the print and digital. I mean, it is something that we've kind of tossed around before, but realistically, it's just not our expertise, and so we've kind of stuck with what we know we do well.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to be with us today because
Heck
we
yeah.
get to learn a lot and we enjoy just getting to know more about.
Yeah, same. It's fun. I think, like I said before, we actually got on the show. It's fun for me to kind of be on the other end of the interview for once, because 99% of the interviews that I'm doing, I'm interviewing somebody and I'm asking them questions and getting their answers. So it's fun to be on the other side of that for once.
Heck
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's
We
been
do have
amazing.
one more segment before you go, but we all sincerely appreciate all of your input and all of the answers to your questions. I know that I honestly, we probably could have kept grilling you for another half hour, but we
I
needed
think
to
so
move
as
on.
well. And it's definitely getting late, and we appreciate your time.
Yep.
The one thing that I would say is that we would look forward to maybe working with you in the future on some B2B activity here in Montana, maybe promote some stuff and get some people together. We have a lot of connections with the businesses here, and I think the market's pretty ripe for that. We have some activity that's been going on recently that's gained some traction, but I think there's definitely room for outside growth to come in. Some of those ancillary markets, like you were talking about, the suppliers for lights, nutrients, all kinds of other things like that, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think Montana leads at variety and competition a little bit. You
Yeah.
know,
We're
it's
pretty
nice to
stuck in
see
just
what
what we've
everybody
seen.
else has got and using, but it's also cool to see that different things that are going on nationwide. And I mean, Nate and I have been in the game forever, and I mean, just because we've been doing it the same way or different ways, I mean, doesn't mean we're doing it right. Always nice to learn new things, and new tools are always fun too.
See
Definitely.
what's up. Yeah.
And it's one thing that I would, say to kind of anybody, if you get a chance to come to Washington, partially because of the way the regulations were set up, we really did get a market that it's ultimately very consumer friendly. And when you walk into a lot of shops, and granted, I haven't been all across the country, but places that I have been, when you walk into a shop in Washington, you really do get the vast range of different products that cannabis manufacturers are making. Every variety of edible, every variety of flower, every new concentrate. I mean, you walk in and it's sort of a the average shop is sort of a stoner's paradise, because you have so many different brands to choose from and so many different individual product types. So I really recommend to anybody in the industry who hasn't made it out to Washington, it's worth checking out a shop in Washington, because most of the states in the country simply do not have that level of variety, in part because of the way their regulations were set up.
Definitely.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I think that from a consumer's perspective, I've always wanted to go to a place that has been around for a long time and has shops like that where they have absolutely freaking everything on the shelf.
I mean, it's like going to Italy and eating pasta.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
just so much fun. Maybe someday, 25, 50 years in the future, we'll have tours where you can go join. You get to go. I'm thinking like a sommelier tour. Not that you to be a sommelier, but get toured around by a sommelier, someone who knows the local area. I wonder if something like that is available.
Well, they
in
call
some
them
of these-
gangiers, I think, is what they're trying to call themselves. That's similar to the sommeliers.
But are those gangiers actually leveraging their skills to give tours around all of California? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that might be a good market to
Mhm.
really research and for somebody to delve into.
Well,
There was-
I know. Go ahead,
There
Garrett.
was a business in Washington, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, that tried to kind of capitalize on sort of that tourism market. So you would meet at a meeting spot. You'd get in a van. They'd drive you to a cultivation facility. They'd walk you through the cultivation facility. They'd talk you about all their techniques, the equipment they use, the strains that they were growing, that whole process. Then you get back in the van, they drive you over to a manufacturing or processing facility. They'd show you the extraction techniques, the edibles manufacturing processes, kind of the whole process of that. Then you get back in the van, and then they drive you around to 2 or 3 different retail shops. And, they'd show you the products that you just saw being made and give you an opportunity to buy them. So, for kind of cannabis enthusiasts who are visiting from out of town, or people who aren't in the industry and maybe have never had a chance to kind of see behind the curtain, in theory, maybe that was a cool idea. But although that business didn't really last all that long, to be completely honest.
Yeah, the more you talk about it, sounds really fun, but it's not something I would go do 5-10 times. You know what I mean? It's kind of a one-time thing. And then I'd be like, oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
Well, with that, we probably better get over to the news.
Hell yeah, let's do it. All right, let's get into that news segment.
This update's fresh and real. Tune in with Nate, it's the big deal. Cannabis news with Nate, let's go. Every story makes you glow. Stay informed, don't be late. Cannabis news with Nate.
All right, welcome back, Budcasters. We got the news. Yep, and I'm Nate. So we got quite a bit going on in the Montana legislature right now, and I know that we keep going back over a lot of this, but it's moving quite fast. As we only have a 90-day legislative session every 2 years. So, Montana's cannabis market has been rolling like a perfectly rolled joint since the legislative session got recreational cannabis passed in 2022. As of November 2024, total sales have blazed past 920 million, and they're projected to be over 1 billion in the first quarter here of 2025. Wow. So, obviously that's a lot of green, and we're not talking about cannabis either. That's a lot of money going on. The tax revenue has been close to $150 million that has been generated to the state of Montana over that. And there's some bills that are coming out that seem to want to put a cap on the licenses. So we've already talked about Senate Bill 27 that has gone through the Senate. It is in the House. They're looking at it in committee right now. Looks like there's a lot of favor for that to go forward and get passed. That was the interim committee bill. So that's the one that we'll probably be stuck with for the near or foreseeable future. The one that's really egregious though.
About that one,
sure, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, you had a flow going, but I know that a lot of times people like to sneak stuff into bills. Is there any random verbiage in there that we should be keeping our eyes on outside of just the moratorium, or is it primarily focused on the moratorium?
Right now, it's primarily focused on the moratorium. There is a little bit in there that says you can't have any more facilities, any additional facilities. So the licenses are pretty much locked as they are. Right now, you have the ability to move them and you have the ability to sell them. But you don't really have the ability to add any new additional locations or anything else like that.
As the bill is proposed.
Okay. There is a couple other bills that are being proposed by Jebediah Hinkle and some others that would actually, you could not move your cannabis business at all. It would be locked in its current location, and
just
there would
total
be
freeze on the industry.
Yeah, complete freeze on the industry. I don't think that's the way we need to go with it. Just a complete freeze on the industry. I mean, businesses may have issues to where they can no longer get a lease. Somebody sells a building, something like that. They should be able to move that business and not lose their business license because of it. So I think there's a lot of unintended consequences that people aren't thinking about there. So.
That makes sense.
We'll see how that goes. Hopefully that'll get tabled in committee. The one that is really starting to get a lot of traction and get a lot of attention is going to be Senate Bill 255 from Representative Greg Hertz. This is the one that is requiring, and we've talked about this over the show a few times now. This is the one where they want to require anybody who's going to purchase cannabis in Montana to buy a $200 identification card. I think this is absolutely ridiculous. I think it's pretty asinine to ask Montanans to, one, have their privacy invaded to buy a legal product. This is not something that we require for any other legal product in Montana, whether that be alcohol, prescription drugs, or anything else like that. So
yeah, and that's actually the sentiment that I'm getting from private parties as well. Even non-smoking, completely outside of cannabis, they look at this bill and they see it as a complete invasion of privacy, and that's all.
Yeah,
it's a huge step back. We're basically just going back to medical cards.
Even worse.
So, well, similar, yeah. And the out-of-state tourism is completely dead at that point. You know, anybody
100%.
coming from out of state, it's like, hey, enjoy the scenery, but you can't buy bud. Like, well,
right.
I mean, that's the dumbest thing possible.
Or plan super far ahead to make sure that you're planning ahead with the government's timing to get you that $200 card to even think.
Yeah,
about
no
purchasing.
kidding.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, I think if we're going to start placing arbitrary laws and start requiring $200 ID cards for stupid things, then, you know, maybe we should have a $200 ID card for politicians who come up with stupid laws like this one.
I agree.
I'm not opposed at all. I'm not opposed. I even just from a common sense perspective, it doesn't. If we're providing them with 150 million in tax revenue, then why would we require the an additional fee of $200 on top of that to the consumer?
Money,
Yeah.
money, money, money.
And I think with the original passage of 190, the initiative that really got legalized cannabis here in Montana, the voters expressly said that they didn't want anything outside of the regular ID card being used as far as a Montana ID card. They didn't want any additional information collected, anything else like that. So I think this really goes against the will of the voters and what they intended with the original initiative.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that's sort of it. We've got Senate Bill 74, which is in the Senate Labor and Economic Affairs Committee. There'll be some hearings on that coming up. 255, there's a hearing coming up on that one on February 27th. It's going to be up there in the House. You can get on leg.mt.gov and look up any of these bills out there. Look up your legislator, get a hold of them, tell them that you don't really appreciate what they're doing with these. So other than that, there's a lot of angst going on from State Representative John Fitzpatrick, who basically has gotten the ire of the cannabis community. This is the gentleman who basically said that public policy professionals deserve a higher salary than those who put dope in a plastic bag and sling it across the counter. So basically marginalizing every bud tender out there, sort of throwing out there that, you know, they're unworthy of their salaries and stuff like that. And it's really drawn a lot of heat on him.
That's definitely some archaic speak. That's all I have to say about that.
That's all I got to say.
Well,
Boomer
I'm
talk.
going to say right now that, you know, my bud tenders have to deal with being with a cash only business,
Mm-hmm.
with a product that could be easily stolen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're to do this with no weapons to protect themselves in any way. The cops are at least an hour away minimum. My bud tenders, not only do they take care of the buds, they take care of the plants. They take care of our shop. They take care of our inventory. They bring in our inventory, get it into the shop. They clean the shop. I'm sorry, but what do you do to earn your wage?
Yeah, that's a fact, you know, and especially some of these legislators that sit around and they just propose preposterous and asinine laws. I agree with what you're saying there, you know, as far as the risk that the bud tenders out there all across Montana put in and ours as well. And I also think that there's a position that is really being missed here. Although we appreciate what our public policy professionals do and some of those people who work, you know, in state government and stuff like that, they're a tax drain. All of the bud tenders and all of the cannabis businesses that are slinging dope across the counter, they're putting $150 million into the state coffers. So, you know, you might not be looking a gift horse so heavily in the mouth, to use an old Montana saying.
And kind of funny timing too, considering I don't want to get too far into it, but obviously there's quite a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse being discovered right now. So
Absolutely. You know, and I think we need to start looking at that here in Montana because
Absolutely.
we're kicking out a lot. Our taxes go to a lot as far as the programs that we're paying for just in cannabis alone. There's quite a education, drug treatment, several things there, and I think there's probably other areas where we could actually help out Montana's economy. One of the stories that doesn't come from Montana, comes from actually Arkansas, but I think Montana could sort of follow, is Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor down there. She has already signed a bill that is directing medical marijuana tax revenue to fund school breakfast programs. So they're actually giving free breakfast and school breakfast to all of their children down there using the cannabis taxes. Here in Montana, we try to keep it away from the children, which I think that's, a pretty prudent idea, but we shouldn't be keeping it away from the children so much as that we're not feeding them.
Absolutely.
And that would be a good way to get rid of some of these disparities we've got going on here.
Oh gosh, take notes, Montana, for real.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
The amount of kids out there.
I'm fairly sure that that's what along the lines of what I voted for when I voted it in. There was quite distinct guidelines on what exactly that money could be spent on, and it was all positive as far as I was concerned.
I'm glad that they didn't steal it last year.
They're trying to do that again. They're trying to reallocate it. That bill's still wiggling around. And I think you're going to see that run constantly where they try to throw it into the general budget. But we get our own version of Doge in here and going through the state budget and actually doing some proper audits. We might see some people back off on some of those pushes as well. Who knows?
Yeah.
But getting back into it on the national front, we have a group of pro-cannabis physicians. They have decided to sue the DEA, basically saying that the agency has been working with opponents of rescheduling or descheduling cannabis. And so they want them to bring in a new panel of witnesses that are actually balanced. And so we'll see how that lawsuit goes on. But with that lawsuit, it sort of drags on the ability for the DEA to reschedule or deschedule. So it's sort of a double-edged sword for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, I guess, the government is slow, but at least we're moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the last thing we got out there in honor of our chocolate that's going on, the booming edible sector that seems to be going on right now is marijuana infused chocolates are having their moment. So it seems like January and February seem to be the month for marijuana infused chocolates. And that's when they're spiking throughout the market.
That makes perfect sense. That makes absolute perfect sense.
Does for Valentine's Day.
All your holiday baking.
Consumer capitalism day, my absolute favorite.
Absolutely.
Hey, we buy in on those sales after Valentine's Day.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, other than that, that's the news, and stay lifted out there, folks.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for joining us this evening on another wonderful episode of the 406 Budcast. Once again, make sure that you guys throw out those likes, shares, subscribes, all the things. Follow
Always
us.
forget the follow.
Make sure you listen on every single platform so we get 10 listens per person. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful weekend.
And we'll get back to you next Friday.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Garrett.
Yeah. Roll it up, line it up, listen up now. It's the 406 Budcast.